Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television, radio, and podcast talk show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. on the Eastern Time Zone as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You may find us on television up in the Huntsville area, channel 182, and it's Charter Communications. You may find us also on Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on the newscasters.com. Got another way you're going to be able to find out about us too. As a matter of fact, I have put my guest name in the pot for this one right here. So this is yournews.com, and the guy Sam Anthony owns this, and so we're going to be part of that group as well. And I can't wait to give you more information about that. Alan, you're like my son. So anything new I try, I always try to get you in it too, because I know that you're a writer and you're an author, you're a speaker, and very political, very all-round person. So I think this would be a good avenue for you. I'll talk with you about that a little bit later. But Alan Mendenhall is with me right now. There was an election last night in the state of Alabama, and you were my first guy. And I was so glad we had planned you for today. And so what a whirlwind.
I know.
Surprises for you.
Well, what's funny is we just found the open date on the calendar. It hadn't even occurred to me that we would be speaking the morning after the primaries. So, wow, really exciting. Obviously, we'll start with the unsurprising result, which is that Tuberville won the Republican primary for governor. No surprise there. That's really exciting. I think he's going to make for a great governor. The challenge to his residency was tossed out same day as the primary. So everything it's full jets ahead for him. But some of these races were pretty close, and we've got runoffs coming up. We've got runoffs for Attorney General. We've got runoffs for U.S. Senate to fill Tuberville's seat. So it's exciting times.
Let's talk about the Senate race, okay? Because this one right here, I just knew the Navy Jag was going to. I just knew it because I interviewed him, and first time out, and I've talked to a lot of folks first time out running for office, and they're a bit nervous. They don't know what to expect, but he seems so seasoned without being seasoned in politics.
Well, you and I spoke about this, I think, last month, and I was a little skeptical about the results. I wasn't skeptical about Jared Hudson. I just thought, well, he's a new candidate. He doesn't have any office experience. And so some of these polls are probably not as sophisticated as other polling. And, I don't think he's going to pull in second, but he did. He pulled in second. And that was a big surprise to me. I was surprised that Steve Marshall, who began this race as the favorite, came in third. And we're talking a difference between about 65,000, a little more than 65,000 votes between what Barry Moore got and what Jared Hudson got. I still think Barry Moore is going to end up winning this race because he does have the Trump endorsement. He has held a seat in Congress for a while, so he has that name recognition. And, I don't know which way Steve Marshall's support will go, but these two candidates don't strike me as being so different in opinion and background and the way they will vote that they would clearly swing all of Marshall's support one way or the other. So I suspect Barry Moore will end up being the next U.S. Senator from Alabama.
For the first time ever, I'm disagreeing with you. I think Jared Hudson is going to be the one. I really do. The more I've talked with him and the more he's out, he's a boots on the ground local guy, but very polished and very professional. That's hard to find. I'm just telling you, there's a few folks have, and I won't mention names, but a few folks have run for office. And one guy in particular has run several different times. He wanted to be governor so bad he couldn't taste it. But he didn't have the it factor. You know what I mean? It was, you've got to be and Jared seems like the type that could probably insult the left and they wouldn't know he was doing it. I mean, I think he's got that gift. So let's think of a good bet between two of us, okay? So let's think of a bet because my money is on Jared. I think he's going to do it.
Oh wow! Well, you said money, so I don't know. This thing really are we gambling on live air? I don't even know.
50 cents. You know me, I'm tight with my money, and so are you. But let's throw 50 cents in the ring. How about that?
Yep, we'll do 50 cents a wrapper. We'll do it. I'm in for 50 cents.
No, I'll tell you what I'm in for. If you'll send me a Hershey's bar when I win, I'll be happy.
That would be an easy arrangement because, my parents stay at my house quite often and my dad is in this s'mores obsession phase. And so every time I come home, my fridge has Hershey bars, and my pantry has marshmallows and graham crackers. Like, what is all so I'll send you one of his Hershey bars.
Yeah, do that when I win. But you never know, man. It's going to depend on how many people go out and vote. I'm a little disenchanted with the number of people out of almost 5 million people.
I'm so glad you brought that up. So let's say just over 5 million people in Alabama. Mm-hmm. And we have basically 9% of the population just over 9% that turned out for that race. A little more for governor. We had, about 9.5%, but roughly the same, and roughly the same for lieutenant governor, just over 9% of the population of Alabama turning out for that race. Now, again, it's a Republican primary, so we're already excluding all the Democrats, but let's be honest, out of the 5+ million people in Alabama, there aren't that many Democrats. So, the turnout was relatively low. And I know that when I went into the Lee County polling to vote, I didn't have much of a line. I just sort of walked in, sat down, filled out my ballot, walked out, threw my sticker on, and that was that. It was a pretty quick process.
It's crazy. I mean, when you say less than 1 million people voted out of 5 million, that's pathetic.
Yeah. Oh, it's a lot. Yeah, that's right. It was a small
weather. Did you? Well, the weather was reasonably nice.
Oh, the weather was glorious yesterday. Yeah, it was amazing. At least where I was. I can't speak for the rest of the state, but in Lee County, it was beautiful.
Well, let me ask you a question. This pertains to voting as well. So, and this kind of digs up some of that. So you got North Alabama, where you got the mountains, because Alabama's gorgeous. I mean, no matter what you say, it's like South Carolina. You got the mountains and you got the beach. Is there a difference between the way people vote and who they vote for, say, North Alabama versus South Alabama?
Well, I would say within the Republican Party in terms of issues, maybe not so much, but in terms of favorability to local candidates, yes. I know, Barry Moore did pretty well up in Huntsville, North Alabama area. And Mobile and Baldwin County always has its own character. And so people sometimes do really well there and don't do as well in other parts of the state. So I do think there's a distinction in that regard. But when it comes to some of our constitutional officers and some of our national figures, like, for example, in a U.S. Senate race, I feel as if the distinction between candidates, at least in this current slate, in the way they will vote is probably not all that different. So people are voting other bases, like where are these people from and what have they done in their office? Are these people not office holders? Are they outsiders? Are they young? Are they old? Or, people are factoring other things because, let's say with Barry Moore and Steve Marshall, their votes will probably be very similar. If they were in the U.S. Senate, they probably, and Jared Hudson too, they would probably all three vote in a very similar way and represent us well. So people are voting for other reasons for one figure or another. But, there's some races that people don't talk about a lot that were interesting to me. I thought Andrew Sorrell dominating the race for was fascinating because he had been pursuing that Secretary of State position, and he had to drop out of that race when Caroline Dobson clearly showed fundraising dominance. And so he dropped out and started running for his old seat again and handily defeated Derek Chin, even though Chin had gotten all these major endorsements. But most of them, so far as I can tell, before Sorrell jumped back into the race for his own seat. I'm happy for Caroline Dobson, and she's a friend of mine. I think she'll do great in that role. The lieutenant governor race is certainly interesting. We're going to see a runoff between Wes Allen and John Wall. And I think
I would not want to pick that one. I don't know.
I don't know either. I think
to me, that's a toss. I mean,
it is. I don't know, like, if Rick Pate's supporters swing one way or another, but I do think the Trump endorsement has really helped Wall. I think what we've seen in these other primaries, for example, with Massey and with Cassidy, is that Trump's endorsement, or maybe not necessarily his endorsement, but his opposition to people, is going to go a long way. Trump has done very well in these primaries so far.
Yeah, but I expected it to be a lot farther away, though. I really did. I expected that to happen with the Trump endorsement. I'm surprised that there are the runoffs that we have to begin with. So it doesn't feel like it's narrowing that. It feels like it's not necessarily narrowing that gap as much as it used to.
Maybe not. I think the runoff that is going to be the tightest is the Katherine Robertson, Jay Mitchell runoff, because they're fairly close, and there was a third candidate who pulled a lot of votes. Mm-hmm. So where do those votes go? That's the question. Katherine Robertson has some support from outside of the state that's been pretty strong and has done well funding her campaign. She picked up a Club for Growth endorsement in the last of the campaign, which was a big deal. So we'll see. The momentum seems to be in her direction. But again, we've got until June 16th for these runoffs. And so there's a lot of time in an election cycle. That's a lot of time for momentum to shift and for things to change. And it will be an interesting dynamic to see what happens in that race in particular.
Do you think the winner of the race is going to be the one who fights the nastiest, or the one who fights a little more civil? Who do you think the winner is going to be?
AG's race in particular? I don't know, Donna. I the thing about an AG is you want someone who's kind of scrappy, because it used to be that the AG was thought of as the state's lawyer and mostly a prosecutor handling crimes and appeals from crimes. But over the last couple of decades, the Attorney General's office has really become a highly political office on a national scale, because the Attorney General will lead the pushback against the federal government if there is a Democratic president, and will lead the state in terms of building coalitions with other states in other areas. Like, we were part of a multi-state coalition to combat ESG and the infiltration of ESG into our state. And Steve Marshall was very much a part of that. Steve Marshall was head of RAGA. Luther Strange was deeply involved with RAGA. And, that's a very national thing, because we've got AG's offices and solicitors' offices within AG's offices coordinating on a national basis in ways that are actually fairly new to our republic. And so we see a lot of blue state, red state rivalries going on, and most people don't pay attention to all that, but they're taking place within the Attorney General's office. So it's a very, very important position nationally, maybe as important as the governor's office.
I agree with you 110%. Let's go into a commercial break. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Man, time flies and you're having fun. We'll be right back. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. Finding the right home isn't just about bedrooms and square footage. It's about comfort, security, and the feeling you get the moment you walk through the door. That's why so many families across Greenwood and the Lakelands area trust Jenny Ferguson with Keller Williams. And I'll tell you from personal experience, Jenny was my realtor, and she truly cares about her clients. Jenny takes the time to listen, to understand what matters most, and to guide you every step of the way, whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, or ready to sell. Because this isn't just a transaction, it's your life. With local knowledge, personal care, and a commitment to getting it right, Jenny Ferguson makes the process simple and even enjoyable. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, now's the time to make your move. Call Jenny Ferguson with Keller Williams in Greenwood today and take the next step toward a place you'll truly love coming home to.
Lowe's knows that the projects you build in spring are the ones you can't wait to share. It's why we make sure you have our best deals with My Lowe's Rewards, and that you get help from people who've
been there,
done that.
Try this.
This spring, we'll help you build something rewarding.
Hey, Stan.
What's up?
I made you something.
Oh, thank you.
And I got something for you. You grew these?
Of course.
Lowe's knows how to help you spring.
Donna's Designs offers a line of handmade memorial, wedding, and keepsake jewelry that launched back in 1970. I'm a self-trained jewelry designer, and I will work closely with you to create unique designs you can love and treasure for years to come. Whether that be flowers that were used in a funeral arrangement or stones you found on the beach at a memorable trip, call me at 256-659-4319, and let's think of the possibilities. Shine your style at Kiss My Glass right here in the Anderson Mall. There's a place where style meets sparkle. At Kiss My Glass, every piece is handcrafted, custom designed, and made to shine just like you. Owner Beth Gibson brings creativity to life with stunning custom tumblers, gifts, and one-of-a-kind pieces you won't find anywhere else. Look for the perfect gift or something uniquely you, from bold and glamorous to simple and elegant. There's something for every style, so stop by, get inspired, and leave with something unforgettable. Kiss My Glass inside the Anderson Mall, Anderson, South Carolina, where your sparkle begins. Be sure to check out Kiss My Glass on Facebook for updates and specials and gift ideas. Okay, we are back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of Donna's Edge television, radio, and podcast talk show. Again, thank you so much for being with us every day, Monday through Friday, as we get to discuss all kinds of wonderful things. And I've got my really good friend, Alan Mendenhall, with me right now. Alan, I am so glad this worked out for you to be the first person I spoke with about this election, but I wanted to ask you a question, and this is going back to the governor's race again. I was pretty sure that Tommy Tuberville would hag it. He would snag on the Republican side. I think he's in for a fight with Doug Jones. I've never thought that before, but I feel like it's going to be a fight.
Well, it's interesting that there's a rematch. I don't think there's going to be much of a fight. I think Tommy Tuberville will win this handily. I think Doug Jones got that U.S. Senate seat in a bit of a fluke. If you recall how he got it, we had a special election, and Luther Strange and Roy Moore running against each other. Roy Moore won the primary. After he wins the primary, the Washington Post pulls that story, waited until after the primary so that Luther Strange couldn't win it. Then they pull it, and that's where Roy Moore's support among most kind of establishment council type Republicans fell apart. And so that created an avenue for Roy Moore for Doug Jones to get that Senate seat, but it was a big kind of fluke. Now, going head to head with someone like Tommy Tuberville, I don't see that happening at this point. Tuberville's been in the U.S. Senate for quite some time. All the vetting that would have occurred has occurred, and so he's going to win. He's going to be our governor, and he's going to be a little bit of a different governor. Now, the position of governor in the state of Alabama constitutionally is not that powerful as compared to governors in other states. So it's not so much a governor can do in terms of like exercise executive power the way the president of the United States can exercise executive power. But I suspect Tuberville is going to come in and be a different kind of leader. Governor Ivey has been pretty squishy. She's just been a let's not rock the boat type person. Mm-hmm. And in particular, in the last 2 years, ever since her chief of staff turned over and Joe Bonner went down to South Alabama, the office has been more of go along to get along. Let's just do whatever is mainstream and whatever people tell us to do. And let's be beholden to the lobby corps. And so it's been a very unexciting, uneventful, and somewhat lame end to the governor's position in Alabama. But I wish Kay Ivey well in retirement. And I'm very excited about what Tuberville will come in and do.
I was not really on board with Tuberville when he first ran for U.S. Senate, but I have to tell you what got me in is when he runs the commercial, somebody's yelling at him. He's at a football game, and he's the coach, of course. And so he's walking by, and I didn't care for the language, but however, someone did say something nasty to him, and he looked at that person and said, "Oh, go to blank," and then he said, "Go get a job." That's when I said, okay, he's tough. I'm voting for him. That's not that I like the language, but I'm just saying we need a world of toughness these days. There has been so much, well, he needs to be more of he needs to speak well. He needs to be more statesman. It depends on what your idea of statesman is. My idea of statesman is not being wishy-washy and just going with the flow. My idea of statesman is you get in there. If you've got to yell and scream at folks, do it, because that's what you have to do with your children sometimes. You don't want to, but you have to. There has to be a correction. But with that said, let me ask you a question. The most important position in the state of Alabama, and I'm singling out Alabama because every state is different, is how they run things. In your opinion, is the most important job U.S. Senate or governor?
Well, I think that I guess they're important in different ways. Obviously, nationally, we have a very close Senate. We need to keep a Republican majority in the Senate, and we're talking about everything from confirming federal judges, which is all the way to the system. And so I think that nationally, it's probably most important that we have a Republican senator, and not just any old squishy Republican senator, not just a Richard Shelby who thinks his job is just to bring home the bacon, but somebody that their job is to represent the people of Alabama and be aggressive in doing it and really fighting the of the left. Now, it's also really important that we have a good governor, and in particular in our state. We've had, and I won't sit here and rattle off the names, but we've had about 4 or 5 entities really controlling Alabama politics for a long time, and enjoying the benefits of being able to pick and choose the winners and losers. And it's time for that to end. Those entities have enjoyed dominance for way too long. We need a major shakeup, and I think Tuberville's the guy to do it. Now, when it became clear that Tuberville was going to run for governor, all these entities I just mentioned made immediate overtures toward him after grumbling about him in the U.S. Senate, complaining about him, even though he was doing what most people in Alabama wanted him to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's having a voice for us, and that's what we're looking for. We hire you, when you're in politics, we hire you, and we hire you to do a great job, an outstanding job. And we hire you to listen to us once you have because we're the reason you're there. And so many folks get away from that. Tuberville doesn't have to run. He doesn't need the money. I mean, nothing like that. But you got to have somebody with a good head on the shoulder, someone like the Navy JAG. I'm just telling you, I think he would be a great team, and I think he and Tuberville could make a great team.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in this race, and to whether I lose or gain a Hershey bar. But I will say one funny thing, Donna, is I was looking at some Alabama politics Facebook page last night, and I was watching these Democrats talk on the Facebook page. And this is no offense to Democrats in general. It's just to the people that were making these comments. And they were saying, we're going to get a blue wave tonight. We're going to get a blue wave. And I'm like, blue wave? This is a primary. Like, what are you even talking about? It was so absurd.
Draws. I mean, I wish they'd just stop it.
Well,
I have friends who are liberals, for goodness sakes, and I don't even argue with them because I don't see the point,
Yeah.
But I'm like, where do you get your info?
Do you not even know what a primary is? Like the Democrats are voting for their candidate and the Republicans are voting for their candidate. They're not going against each other yet. Like, this isn't a general election. Like, these people didn't even understand. They're like, blue wave tonight, Democrats are going to win. Like, what are you even talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. You just have to pass that on and hope that ignorance will be bliss someday. So.
Funny.
But we're in a, and I'll have to tell you, on up till now, I sort of looked at Alabama as being a purple state. I know, Republican governor by the name, and I know Republican this and Republican that, but I felt there was no real leadership. I feel like there was nobody. Let's go against those tough issues, like in Florida, for goodness sakes.
Yes.
I mean, some of those states really herald it. I mean, because I had always thought of the governor as just being just the, like Prince Philip in England, just a figurehead. But I feel like if you can get the right one in, somebody who's going to get in there with their teeth and gnash it and, be nice and try to work across the aisle. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying be forceful in what you do. Don't act all wishy-washy about stuff, because we're all tired of that. Us regular folks, we don't want any more wishy-washy. We want to do, if you're going to say you're going to do something, do it. And if it comes across rude, so be it.
I think we're in for, I want the same thing. I think we're in for an exciting, hopefully 8 years.
Mm-hmm. I think you will be. It's also going to, I think it all boils down to, and I think you agree with me, it all boils down to who comes out and votes. Because if you've got more folks who are Democrats who are going to be driven to go out and vote, I still say that, I call him possum head because he looks like a possum to me. Doug Jones would win it. So it's going to depend on how many conservatives and Republicans get out to vote.
Yep.
What can you do to stir up that nest? What can we do to get folks out there?
Well, historically, the turnout for primaries is lower. So I'm not surprised that it was lower. I am a little bit surprised that barely over 9% of our population voted in the Republican primary. But I suspect come general election, and I suspect we're going to see a much greater turnout. But we got to talk about it. People have got to go out and vote, and I think they will. And I think we're going to have Governor Tuberville, and we're going to see a new sunrise.
I hope you do. Let me ask you another question. We've got about 2 minutes left in this segment. So, Steve Marshall, what's next for him, do you think?
I have thought about that. I was thinking about that this morning because I felt badly for Steve. Steve's a friend of mine. He's a good man. And I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not sure what he will do. But I think, there are interesting options on the horizon. A couple things I thought about is University of Montevallo will be hiring a new president. Obviously, Troy University and Chancellor Jack Hawkins will be stepping down. It will be hiring a new chancellor. And so there are things like that are out there that maybe people don't immediately think about. Mm-hmm. And Steve would be good at those types of roles. I have no idea if that's something he would want. I just have no idea. But it would be interesting to see him assume a position like that.
You think he's finished with politics, or will he be back in?
I don't know. I think he's got time. He's still young enough to come back and do something. And I don't see him wanting to be, a judge or something like that. But I don't think he's done with politics. No, I just don't know exactly what the path is, but he'll be fine because he's a smart, capable man.
I'm with you. He's got plenty of time to think about it.
He does.
Absolutely. Alan, thank you so much for being with me. I'm glad you were the one.
Well, thank you, Donna. It was fun to come on.
Absolutely.
As always.
Perfect timing. And thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate that. Continue sending email. Just makes my day. Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. Thank you so much for watching. And Alan, again, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you.